We are meant to call from out of the past stories, strange and weird.
Tales of mystery and terror by radio's masters of the macabre.
Stories of the supernatural, the supernormal, dramatized in fantasy, the mystery, the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginary plays, we urge you calmly, sincerely, to turn off your radio now.
This is The Horror. Thanks for joining me once again. We're going to hear this week from Quiet Please, a series that aired from June of 1947 to June of 1949, produced 106 episodes. It originally aired over mutual stations until September of 1948 when it moved to ABC, where it ran until it was over. Our story today is from August 10th, 1947. It's titled, Bring Me to Life.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Today's Quiet Please story, written and directed by Willis Cooper and featuring Ernest Chappell, is called Bring Me to Life. Shut up. Why can't people let me alone?
Yeah? This is Hank Viscardi.
Hello, Hank. How are you today?
Where's your script?
Oh, I've just got 3 more pages to go. I'll get it into you this afternoon.
Well, be sure you do, will you? We're sitting here waiting for it.
Don't worry, Hank. I'll get it in all right.
No kidding now. We've got to have it today.
All right. You'll get it.
Okay. I'll wait for you.
All right, I'll see you. Yeah, I'll see you. I'll see if I get an idea. Got no more idea than a rabbit. Page 1. Yeah, that's a start. Let me see. What I need's a character. Character. Come on, character.
Have you got $3?
No, I haven't got $3. What do you want $3 for?
The milkman. You had some money last night.
I got 80 cents.
Thanks.
Listen, Ruthie, give me an idea for a character.
I haven't got any ideas for characters. Haven't you really got $3? He's been here twice.
Give him a check. What I want's a character for this script.
The only one I can think of now is the milkman. You get to work.
Yeah, get to work. Sure. If I get a character, I'll get to work. If that's all I need, then I'll get a story all right. I think. Come on, character. Now what you want? I said I haven't got $3. Oh, come on in, Ruth. What's the matter with you? Come on in, I said. Ruth!
You calling me?
Didn't you knock at this door?
Are you crazy?
Well, I thought I heard somebody.
Get to work.
All right. Doggone it, I must be going. No, I didn't write that. How did that get on that paper? Bring me to life. I didn't write that. No, I did. Ruth! Ruthie! Hey, Ruthie!
What's the matter?
Ruthie, come here. Come here, quick.
What's the matter with you?
Come here. Look at my typewriter.
Well, what about it?
Look what's on the paper.
Bring me to life. What's strange about that?
Well, I didn't write it.
What? Are you...
Look. See what it's doing? Underlining those words.
How are you doing that?
Not, I tell you. Look, I said I didn't write it, and the typewriter just said, no, I did.
Oh, who is it?
I don't. C-H-A-R-A-C-T-E-R. Character.
Now, look. This is a gag of some kind. How are you doing
I tell you, it isn't a gag. That typewriter's haunted.
This is impossible now, I tell you.
It is, huh? Well, look at it.
Bring me to life.
You see?
All right, smart guy. It's a great trick. How do you do it?
Ruth, I swear I'm not doing it.
You are, too.
Look, now, wait. Wait a minute. I'll go way over here, and you'll see. Now, it'll write. It'll write. Watch now.
I knew it was a gag. Listen, I've got housework to do. Now, you go on and get that script written.
Oh, gone it, Ruth. I have to think up a character first. There it goes again.
It says me. All right, there's your character. Write about him.
Do you really suppose that...
Now, look, darling. I've been married to a writer long enough to believe almost anything. I don't know how this is done, but it's worth trying, isn't it?
Well, I don't like to monkey with things like that.
Don't be silly.
Well, wait a minute. It's one thing to write about supernatural things. It's another to experience them.
Huh. You've always been wishing you had a typewriter that'd do your scripts for you. Now you got it. Go ahead.
Yes, but how do I know who this is?
Who?
Well, this character or whatever he is.
Well, you decide. You bring him to life. Go ahead.
Who should he be?
Well, a pirate?
I don't know anything about pirates. What?
It says, I do. Go ahead.
I don't like it.
Go ahead. Unless this is a gag.
It's no gag.
Right.
Well. It was a dark and stormy night. What's that?
Sounds like thunder. There's a storm coming up.
My gosh, does this thing control the weather, too?
Go on. Write some more. This is getting interesting.
Well, all right. Nothing's happening.
What did you write?
Here, read it.
The pirate ship scudded through the roaring waves, all her sails straining under the howling wind. Do you smell anything?
Smell? Yeah, I sure do. It smells like the ocean. Go on. Read some more, Ruth. I think I know how this works now.
Oh, what do you mean?
I think you have to read it to make it happen.
Well, you read it then.
No. You.
I don't want to read it. I'm scared.
I don't like it either.
Look, the typewriter.
It says, read it.
Well,
Captain Jabez Thorne, scourge of the Spanish Main, slowly climbed the steps of the companionway. Companionway?
There's somebody coming up the stairs.
You know there aren't any stairs in this house.
Oh, read some more.
And flung open the door.
Oh!
He gazed on the wild scene for a second and drew his cutlass. What's that?
My Swedish crystal vase.
It fell down.
He knocked it off with that cutlass or whatever it is. That vase cost $42.
Well, I couldn't help it, honey.
You do something about it. Oh, my beautiful vase. And there isn't another one like it in the world.
Well, what can I do? For gosh sakes, honey, I can't help. Wait a minute. Wait. He returned the cutlass to its scabbard. You see?
That doesn't bring back my vase.
Well, listen. He turned to the beautiful girl at his side.
Hey, don't read that.
And put out his arm.
Oh!
What?
Hands!
What? What's the matter?
Hands! Great big hands! Oh!
Ruth, what's happening? Ruth!
Somebody kissed me with whiskers! Oh, you pirate, you! I'll fix you!
Ruth, no!
I'll fix you!
Ruth, stop!
I'll stop him! There's your pirate!
Oh, Ruth. Well, my friends, that all happened a week ago. Sure, it really happened. No, I haven't got any explanation for it. All I know is that stuff appeared on my typewriter. All the other things happened just the way you've heard them. And Ruth made the pirate disappear when she tore up the sheet of paper. All I know is it gave me a good idea for a story about a pirate, and I wrote it. People thought it was swell. And here it is deadline time again, and me without an idea again, and any minute that Hank Viscardi will be on that phone again asking for my script. You see? Getting psychic. So, okay. Hello, Hank.
How did you know it was me?
I always know when it's script day. I've only got about 3 pages to go, Hank.
When do I get it?
Tomorrow morning for sure.
Okay. See that you do.
Okay, Hank? You'll get it. You'll get it. Here we go again. Here we go again. What did I write about this time? Oh, no, not about pirates again. Now, let me think. No, that's not for me. I don't like love stories. No. People don't want war stories. How about a whodunit? A crime story. A murderer. Detective. Spies, maybe. Calling all cars. Yeah, maybe I could do that. No, awful lot of whodunits on the networks, though. Oh, well. One more won't hurt him. Let's go. Now for a character. Character. I wonder. Wait a minute. Ruth. Ruthie. Just wanted to be sure she's asleep after the way she murdered my pirate. You know, this could turn out to be a great racket. Have your characters write your stories for them. The only thing is you have to be careful what I put down on paper. Don't want to find myself getting choked to death by somebody I brought to life. Hey, what am I saying? Well, let's see what happens. Page 1. You know, you don't have to believe this, friends. I'm not so sure I'd believe it either, even though I've been mixed up with supernatural stories for so long, I guess I'm a sucker for them. Maybe all that didn't happen. Maybe Ruthie and I dreamed it. The only thing is, two people don't usually dream the same dream at the same time, you know. And that Swedish crystal vase of hers is sure busted. You know I didn't do it. Well, it didn't happen. Maybe Ruthie and I dreamed it. The only thing is, two people don't usually dream the same dream at the same time, you know. And that Swedish crystal vase of hers is sure busted. You know I didn't do it. Okay, hypnotism maybe. Okay, hypnotism or something. And I'm going to try it again. Sure, just for laughs. But we'll see who'll do the laughing, huh? Me or you? How's your imagination? Mine's all right, thank you. So shut up a minute while I try this. Just keep quiet and let's see what happens, okay? Hey, character. Character. Come on, character. Come on, character. What? No, I did that. It wasn't the character. I just wrote, "Are you there?" to see if he answers. Come on, character. I need a story. You helped me the other day, character. Help me now. Come on. Come to life. Character, you hear me? Come on, pal. I need help. Don't be mad at me. Pirate? Romantic guy. Well, a soldier. Well, a detective. Okay, so I'm a chump. So I can't pull a character out of the air like that. Okay. So go on and laugh. I'm sorry. Well, if you were sitting around waiting in the country at this time of night, all alone, your wife's sound asleep, and this is the only light in the house, and you've got to write a supernatural story before morning. Try it sometime, friend. Just keep quiet and let me try to work, huh? You got nothing to do but listen to the radio. How'd you like to have to write those things that you listen to, huh? In the middle of the night. All alone by yourself. Okay. Quiet, please. Well, listen to this. I am alone. I am alone in a great dark house with only the weird wail of the wind and the whispering willows. You think that's too much alliteration? Weird wail of wind, whispering willows? I kind of like it. In the whispering willows to keep me somber company. That's okay, huh? Maybe I'll get a story yet. Just keep quiet. I sure wish that character would give me a hand, though. Now, what could happen to a guy sitting here like I am? Let's see. What could happen? Could be a ghost? Nah, no ghost. Chains clanking and stuff. Corny sound effects. No. A burglar. Well, burglar might be good. I wouldn't know what to do about a burglar, though. We haven't got anything worth stealing around here. Besides, burglars are kind of corny, too, aren't they? You know, You always think of a fat guy in a mask with an old-fashioned dark lantern and a bag over his shoulder. Like those fellas they draw in cottages. What's the name of the fellow that does it? Larry Reynolds? The big fat guy in the little old room. Now, burglars are funny. Burglars are out. Well, what then? Who'd come sneaking into your house in the middle of the night? Let's see. Hey, what about an escaped convict? An escaped convict, that'd be all right, wouldn't it? Huh? You could do a lot of things with an escaped convict. Guy's wife asleep. You know, a desperate character. I could have left the door unlocked. He could have sneaked in. I'd never know it. He could be looking over my shoulder right now. Hey, stop that. Scare myself to death. Hey, this'll be all right. This'll be all right. Let's see, he could have sneaked into Ruthie's room. Oh, did I wake you, Ruthie? Oh, I'm sorry, talking to myself. Ruth! Ruth! What's the matter, darling? Where's the light?
Never mind the light, mister. And you shut up right now. I said shut up. Quiet now. Stop it, and I won't hurt you. Now, stop.
You hurt my husband.
He'll be all right now. Just keep quiet a minute.
Who are you?
Ma'am, I just crashed out of the big house, as they say in the movies. I'm an escaped convict, ma'am. And for your information, I am a pretty desperate escaped convict. Where does your husband keep his clothes?
What?
I'm still wearing the clothes the state thoughtfully provides for convicted murderers, ma'am, and they're rather conspicuous. I need a change. Which is his closet?
You killed him?
No, ma'am, I didn't kill him, but I may do that yet if I don't get a little cooperation out of you.
Oh, let me out.
No, you just sit there and tell me where to find his other suit. Where's the light? You're very pretty.
Let me go to my husband.
No, darling, no. I got other plans for you. Is this his closet? Oh, yeah. Nice little suit. Yeah, I like this one. Yeah. A little on the large side for me, but you can shut your eyes while I change. I'll need a shirt, too.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'll tell you. First, I'm going to get into this nice, new, oversized suit of clothes.
Oh, let me see if he's all right.
Sorry. Nice shirts. Sorry, no, I don't think he's dead. And even if he is, he can't hang me more than once, you know.
Please.
Be still.
Oh.
I said be still. Listen, ma'am, don't be misled because I'm treating you nicely. I am really a very rough person. You might have read about me in the papers.
Oh, please, won't you?
No. Shut up or I'll have to shut you up.
What are you...
As soon as I get these clothes adjusted, I'm going to leave here, ma'am.
Well, then can't I...
And I'm going to take you with me.
No.
You see, they're out after me already, and they want me pretty badly. They have rifles and shotguns, ma'am, and they won't hesitate to use them. That is, unless there's a lady present. You see? Now, a necktie.
You're not...
Shh, please. Nice tie, this. Very nice. You see, if I might be so crude, I intend to take you along for a kind of shield, ma'am.
Oh.
The boys won't shoot you, understand, if there's a possibility of putting a bullet through you. So I suggest you get up and get a coat or something. It's getting quite a lot cooler out. I said get up.
I won't.
Ma'am, you better.
Please let me see my husband.
I told you it'd be all right. And if you're a good girl, you might get back to him one of these days. If you're not, does your husband wear hats? If you're not, you might not. Come on. Get up.
I won't.
I suppose it was Ruth screaming that brought me back through the darkness to a kind of semi-consciousness. The light was still on in her room. I could hear them talking.
He's still out cold,
I
ma'am.
kept my eyes shut. I don't know why. I suppose I ought to have got up and helped Ruth, but I was still pretty groggy. I just lay there. I could hear them.
Come on, ma'am. I haven't got much time to waste.
I'm not going.
I got my eyes open just a little then, and I could see Ruth with her heavy coat thrown around her, and he had her by the hand, and he was pulling her toward the door.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
Seemed to be a long time before I could get up on one elbow. My head hurt. I wasn't sure what happened. Ruth was gone. Who was the man I saw dragging her away? I tried to think. Finally, the fog cleared away enough so I could figure out what to do. It seemed hours later that I got to my feet. I staggered out to the other room where I'd been working at my typewriter. I should do something I knew. But what should I do? My mind wouldn't work. I wanted to go after them, but something stopped me. Something wouldn't let me go. I didn't know what it was. Something was making a noise through the ringing in my ears. What was it? And at last I recognized the sound. It was my typewriter. I fell down as I staggered across to it. I crawled the rest of the way, forced myself to look at the paper. My keys were tapping away, and slowly, painfully, I read the words. Bring me to life. Bring me to life. Bring who to life? Me, said the typewriter. Me. And at last, my pirate. Oh. Come on, character. Come on, pirate. And the typewriter clacked away. Hurry, it said. Painfully, oh, so painfully. I got one hand on the keyboard. The letters were blurred, but I found them. The pirate comes in, draws, cutlass, sees, enemy, goes to rescue through French window, pursues enemy, enemy frightened, wife knows, rescue coming, pirate raises cutlass. Yeah, I'm on bail now. On bail? It was pretty hard to explain a dead man wearing my clothes in my garage. Dead from the wicked, slashing blows of a great sword, a cutlass. Hard to explain. It's impossible. You believe it? I believe it. Ruth believes it. And that's the whole story. Thanks, character. Good night, character.
You have listened to Bring Me to Life, a Quiet Please story written and directed by Willis Cooper. The man who talked to you was Ernest Chappell.
Aunt Ruth was played by Helen Marcy. Walter Black was the murderer. The man on the telephone was Warren Bryan. The music was composed and played by Gene Perazzo. And the character? And now for a word about next week's Quiet Please. Here is our writer-director, Willis Cooper.
Next week's story is called A Mile High and a Mile Deep. It's a story about the copper mines in the mountains above Butte, Montana, and the people who work there.
And so, until next week at this time, I am quietly yours, Ernest Chappell.
This program came to you from New York. This is the world's largest network, the Mutual Broadcasting System.
That's the horror for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. You can find more from Quiet Please at relicradio.com, alongside thousands of other old-time radio episodes. More from this podcast, all the other podcasts, and our Shoutcast stream. Lots to listen to. If you'd like to help support it all, you can donate through the website as well, or visit donate.relicradio.com. Thanks to those who have helped out. Thanks for joining me today. Be back next Saturday with another episode of The Horror.
Strange Tales.
RelicRadio.com presents tales of the strange and bizarre, the weird and the wicked. Stories not necessarily of the supernatural, but of the unnatural. Join us now for Strange Tales, featuring radio drama at its most mysterious and unusual. This week on Strange Tales, we'll hear from Columbia Workshop, series that aired from July of 1936 to April of 1947, produced 370 episodes for CBS Radio. Our story today is from July 20th, 1942. It's titled Someone Else.
Columbia Workshop presents Someone Else by Lucille Fletcher with Martin Gable. Elizabeth, my dear, you asked me this morning at breakfast if there was someone else. And I knew at last that you sensed a little of what has happened to me. I wanted to answer you then, but I couldn't. Now I must tell you, darling. There is someone else. Something else. And it's been driving me half crazy now for months. It's a madness, a nameless, terrible nostalgia of the blood. It's taken my mind from my work, from this house, from you. Yet it's not living. I still love you and only you more than anything in the world. I say in the world, for this thing that has me in its power is beyond you and me, beyond life itself. It began one rainy night, less than a year ago. It was your bridge night. You'd asked me to stay in New York and have dinner out. I ate alone, and then, since it was still early, I went for a walk down Madison Avenue. I got as far as 56th Street. Then it began to rain harder. and I stepped into one of the shop doorways for shelter. It was an antique shop, and she was in the window. Darling, have you ever been in a strange city, pushing your way through a crowd, and seen a face that was for a moment hauntingly familiar? Or have you perhaps glimpsed someone you were sure you knew, and realized only after that person had passed by that it was someone who had died years and years ago? That was the feeling I had that night when I stared in through the glass at her face. And yet she was only a little porcelain figure, a Dresden shepherdess, no taller than my hand. It was a sad face, a face singularly full of indefinable tragedy. And though small, the features had a distinctness, an actual expression. No one looking on that face could ever forget it. But it was the old familiarity that haunted me. The overwhelming sense that I had seen that face somewhere long ago. I stood there trying to capture the association. A long time after the rain stopped. I was still thinking about it when I came home that night to Maplewood.
Not really. Oh, is that you, Burton, dear?
Yes.
Come on in. We're just having refreshments. Icebox cake and everything. I saved your piece.
Thanks just the same, darling, but I'm kind of tired. If you don't mind, I'll just go upstairs to bed. Somehow I didn't want to go into that living room and see the girls all sitting around the bridge tables, eating gooey slabs of icebox cake. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to see you. I wanted to be alone. All night long, the feeling of recognition kept recurring like a name on the tip of my tongue. But I got nowhere with it. Well, you know how it is with a little thing like that. At noon the next day, I went up to the store and took another look at her. The familiarity was even stronger.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
May I help you?
Yes, if you don't mind. It's rather curious, but you know that shepherdess you have in the window?
The mice and shepherdess?
The one with the basket of pink roses and the three-cornered hat. It's funny, but I seem to have seen her before.
We got it from Europe 2 weeks ago. It came over on a convoy from England. It's from the collection of the Earl of Faversham.
I see.
It's a very rare piece. Would you be interested in pricing it?
Oh, no, thank you. Thanks just the same. Well, thank you for your trouble.
Oh, no, thank you.
I put it out of my mind until one night, 2 weeks later.
What time is it, dear?
I don't know. About 9:30.
Oh, good. I don't want to miss it. Oh, wait till I turn on the radio.
Miss what?
The Yummy Crackles program. Don't you remember? It's Tuesday night.
Oh, yes, I don't want to miss that myself.
It's so funny.
Darling, what's that?
What, dear?
That tune they're playing. I've heard it somewhere before.
Have you? It's pretty, isn't it?
Pretty.
It must be on the Exploring Music program. That always comes before Yummy Crackles. They'll probably tell what it is in a few minutes.
I'd heard it before. I'd heard this tune 100 times before, and yet I couldn't tell its name or where I'd heard it. I knew only that it was somehow connected with a palace, a blaze of candlelight, a gold staircase carpeted with red velvet, and windows, countless long, high windows, beyond which in the darkness fireworks like great roses were bursting. But most of all, it was connected in my mind with her, with that lovely, tragic porcelain face. listening to Exploring Music, another in the weekly series of concerts.
I'd heard it somewhere before, and she had been with me. In some way, it was associated in my mind with love and grief.
Symphony and excerpts from Aristide Dubois' pastoral opera, Diana and Hercules.
Aristide Dubois.
But, Verdon, what's the matter?
Dubois. I know that name.
You're so pale all of a sudden. Here, sit down. I'll get you a glass of water.
No, thank you, darling. Whom do we know named Dubois?
Why, no one, dear. No one I know. It's just an 18th century composer's name. Well, I've heard it before on the radio.
Isn't that? I know a man named Dubois. He's huge, ugly, has a wart on his lower lip, a little pig-like eyes. He has 2 daughters, extremely conceited with a violent temper. Let's see. Gosh, I don't know what's the matter with me.
You're tired out, dear. You're just tired out after the end of a long, hard day. Now, you lie down for a while. Oh, here's Yummy Crackles now.
Presenting Yummy Crackles.
Turn it off, Elizabeth, please.
But, darling, I thought...
Turn it off. You hear me? Can't a man even think for a minute without having to listen to that loud...
There. I thought you said the program was funny. I thought you said you liked it.
I sat there with my head in my hands. Your words, Elizabeth, had no effect on me. I sat there, and it was just as if I wasn't sitting in the parlor at all. But somewhere else. Out in the night on a stone balustrade, perhaps. Or at the edge of some enormous fountain. I was sitting there waiting for something to happen to me. For someone to come. I was waiting for her. The next day I went back to that antique shop. As a man might go to a rendezvous.
Mr. Lafleur?
Yes?
There's a gentleman waiting to see you.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon, monsieur.
Good afternoon.
Is there anything I can do for you?
Yes. That shepherdess in the window. I want to inquire about it. I want to know everything there is to know.
You wish to purchase her, monsieur?
Well, no, I hadn't thought about that, but I just...
Because if you are interested, monsieur, I warn you, you must make up your mind quickly. There happens to be another gentleman very, very interested in that shepherdess.
Another gentleman?
Yeah, you have heard of Monsieur Fischer, Ludwig Fischer? He's the greatest collector of Meissen in the world, monsieur. And only this morning he was in here personally to examine that shepherdess. Why, at any moment...
You mean it's valuable?
Valuable? Monsieur, that little figure is one of the rarest pieces of Meissen china in existence. It was made by the great Meissen artist Kendler himself.
Kendler? Who's he? I never heard of him.
A very, very great artist, monsieur. He was the leading sculptor of all Meissen porcelain from 1731 to 1775. This little piece was made sometime around 1775. You collect Meissen porcelain, no?
No. As a matter of fact, I've never even heard of it before.
Oh, monsieur. What a pity.
I was just passing by this store the other night, and her face, well, it looked just like someone I knew. But I don't suppose if it's that old, it could look like anybody I've ever known.
Oh, who knows, monsieur? Perhaps a painting of the period you have seen and forgotten. Or a well-known lady of the 18th century. The Meissen artists sometimes used living models. But let us take her from the window and examine her.
No, really, thank you very much.
Oh, but it's quite all right. Here she is. Faces are strange things, are they not? Resemblances? What makes resemblances? A nose, an eye, a mole on the chin.
May I take her, please?
LaFleur's antique shop? Oh, yes. Oh, one moment, please. It's Mr. Fisher, Mr. LaFleur. He wants to speak to you about that shepherdess.
Ah, yes. If you will excuse me.
Just a moment. Before you go, Mr. LaFleur, how much is she?
I will be with you in a minute, monsieur. Mr. Fisher...
Tell him you can't have her. I want her.
She is $350, monsieur.
$350? That would have bought you a fur coat, Elizabeth. Paid 2 years of taxes on our house in Maplewood. Given us a vacation trip to South America. $350 was almost 4 weeks' salary. But I was like a man in a dream. The thing in my hand wasn't porcelain. It was something alive. Something terribly close and precious to me. I couldn't give it up, ever. To anybody.
Mr. Fisher is waiting for me, monsieur. What shall I tell him?
Tell him and his collection to go to the devil. This shepherdess is mine. I took a walk that afternoon through Central Park. I was excited in a curious, have-to-find way. And now that I had her in my pocket, this precious, sad, beautiful thing, everything about me seemed sordid and ugly. I came home at last, but I had no sooner come there than I wanted to run away again. Our little house looked so bare and cold and dreary. I'd planned to show you the shepherdess, to break down and tell you. But, darling, when you came to the door, forgive me. You seemed suddenly like a stranger. Elizabeth, it was a malady. It was something I couldn't resist. You must understand that. You've known me for 10 years. Have I ever been a nervous man, a jittery man? And yet, from that day forward, all sorts of little things began to drive me crazy. There was the telephone, for example. I jumped every time it rang as though it was something new and unfamiliar. There were the auto horns. Suddenly they seemed twice as loud and terrifying. There was the incessant, irritating drone of airplanes in the sky. The dusty clatter of subways. Everything in the world seemed to be growing harsher and more jarring. I was happy only when I was alone. In very quiet places. In very old places. Like the still stone rooms of the Metropolitan Museum. Or the graveyard of St. Paul's. I was happy only with old things. With clocks. All grimy with dust. With pewter candlesticks. With furniture from which the gilt and paint had long since fallen away. I began to buy these things, secretly, to lay them away where she was hidden, under a pile of old clothes in the front part of our attic. I began to read books that brought me nearer these things, books on the 18th century. I haunted antique stores, auctions, old houses. And last night, Elizabeth, at an auction, I discovered for sure how deep my malady really lay.
And now we come to item number 35, a handsome so-called Lowestoft plate of the 18th century, slightly cracked, with a design of blue and yellow cloth.
I had dropped in at the Park Bernet Galleries. They were holding an auction that night of 18th century china. I'd been standing at the back of the room for about half an hour when somebody tapped me on the shoulder.
Good evening.
I turned around. Before me stood an old man with thin, rather long white hair and nose glasses. I'd never seen him before.
My name is Fisher, Ludwig Fisher. We have met before, no?
I'm sorry, I don't quite recall. My name's Simpson, Verdon Simpson.
Mr. Simpson. Are you not the gentleman who purchased the little Meissen shepherdess in LaFleur's antique shop 6 months ago?
Well, yes, I am.
Ah, then pray permit me to introduce myself once more, Mr. Simpson. I am Ludwig Fisher, your rival for that charming piece. I, too, collect Meissen, and I, too, wish to buy her.
Well, I'm Glad to meet you.
And I have always had a very great curiosity to meet the gentleman who purchased that delightful and most curious little work of art.
Curious?
But shall we go outside, Mr. Simpson? It is very warm in here and not good for speaking. Or do you wish to bid on that foolish sport?
No, I wasn't bidding.
Good. I perceive you have good taste in more ways than one. You collect Meissen, Mr. Simpson?
No, not exactly. Just that one piece.
Uh-huh.
Rather curious. You are knowing that I bought that shepherdess. Even remembering my name so many months afterward.
Oh, not at all. Mr. Lafleur told me your name, and the little shepherdess which you purchased is one of the rarest things of its kind in existence. I am attached to it for many reasons. That is why, naturally, I would be interested to know who snatched her away from me.
Snatched her?
Oh, please, do not misinterpret me, Mr. Simpson. I feel no resentment toward you. To the victor belong the spoils. But that little shepherdess is one of the most famous figurines ever made. Excuse me, are you walking my way, Mr. Simpson?
I don't know. I haven't anything to do this evening.
I live on 58th Street near the river. If you care to, I have histories, a great deal of interesting information at home.
I'll walk you over.
Excellent.
I had the feeling, even as we started down 57th Street, with its lighted shops, its hurrying people, I had the feeling that I was on the brink of something sinister and frightening. It was raining, a thin drizzle, the same kind of rain that had fallen on that night when I had first seen her.
You say then, Mr. Simpson, you know nothing, absolutely nothing about the marvelous little work of art which you have purchased?
Nothing except what Mr. Lafleur told me.
And what was that?
That she was made by Kendler, I think it was, sometime around 1775.
Oh, poof. She was made by Kendler, that is right, but he told you nothing more?
No.
That shows you how much these art dealers know. She was the last thing ever to be made by Kendler, the great Meissen artist, before he died.
Oh, I see.
She was to have been his masterpiece, his swan song to the world. I say was to have been. That is the rather tragic thing about your shepherdess, Mr. Simpson. The art piece of which she was to have been a part was never carried through. The dream of the artist was never finished.
I don't quite understand you.
No, you would not, perhaps, unless you knew the story. Have you never heard of Aristide Dubois?
Dubois? Oh, Dubois, yes, I have. He's a composer. Plays the harpsichord and has two daughters.
He was an obscure composer of the 18th century, and he had two daughters, that is right. You have heard, perhaps, of the younger one, Antoinette.
Antoinette?
She was named for the Queen of France, and according to 18th century history, she was 3 times as beautiful. Now, you do not know her story. In its own way, it is a very famous one. But then, if you are not a historian...
Please, go on.
Well, she fell in love when she was 18 with a flute player in her father's orchestra. Her father, who had bigger hopes for her, forbade the marriage and sent her off to a convent. She escaped and by various means arrived back at the palace, and disguised as a shepherdess, she... Oh, but here we are.
Where?
At my house. Come in, won't you, Mr. Simpson?
We'd arrived at an old brownstone house, set in the middle of a quiet street, near the fog-hung river. It was dark. I didn't want to go in. For some reason, I didn't want to hear any more of his story. Yet, something impelled me to follow him. We went up the steep stone stairs into a pitch black hallway. He lit a match.
You will observe, Mr. Simpson, that my whole house is lit with candles. It shows off my collection much better.
One by one in that ghostly silent hallway, he lit candle after candle until the whole place was ablaze with light. Then he went into an enormous front parlor. There were candles there, too. And he lit them, and I saw that the room was full of glass cases, great tall cabinets in which stood porcelain figurines of every size, shape, and design. In one corner, an old clock ticked. The room was musty, overpowering with its countless little toys. And yet, darling, horribly familiar.
Sit down, won't you? Some coffee?
No, thank you. You were saying...
Oh, yes. I was saying about Dubois' younger daughter, Antoinette. She escaped from the convent and returned to the palace disguised as a shepherdess. A fancy dress ball was being given. Her lover was playing the flute solo in a piece of her father's. It was a great moment for the composer, a triumph before all the court. But the flute player recognized his sweetheart. He stopped short in the middle of his solo. He stared. He hesitated. He could not go on. And in that moment, with all the court looking on, the father knew. He turned, saw his daughter, saw double disgrace staring him in the face, and in a mad rage, for he was a violent man and an egotist, he rushed upon the player and struck him to the heart with a ceremonial sword. The daughter... But, Mr. Simpson, you're looking so pale. Shall I open the window?
No. It's all right. Please go on. You were saying.
Well, that's all there is to the story, and quite a famous little bit of 18th century scandal it is. But the real point is that Candler took it as a theme for his swan song, his final work of art.
Yes.
It was the last thing he planned before he died, and a charming conceit it was, too. There were to be the two lovers executed in porcelain, one to stand on either side of a fireplace. Antoinette was to be dressed as a shepherdess, and the flute player as a shepherd playing the flute.
Yes.
But only the little shepherdess, the figure that you purchased, Mr. Simpson, was ever finished. He sketched the two figures in his sketchbook, and in a moment I will show you the old drawings of them he made. But he died before he could create the shepherd. Sad, isn't it?
Sad.
You know, even in porcelain, those two poor young lovers were never united.
No.
Only in this little pencil sketch which Candler made. Only in this were they ever together. Would you like to see the drawing, Mr. Simpson?
Please.
The drawing, Mr. Simpson. Charming, are they not? Is not the drawing like your little shepherdess? Perfect. Perfect in every way.
Yeah.
And have you noticed something else, Mr. Simpson? It has just struck me. It is quite amusing how very much the little shepherd's face resembles yours. You remember how I was sure I knew you at the auction tonight? Well, but where are you going, Mr. Simpson?
If you don't mind, I'd like to open the window.
Oh, but certainly, it really is quite stuffy in here. And then we must have some coffee.
Elizabeth, I don't know what it means. I can't explain it. I know only that there's dust upon it, and corruption and terrible sadness. I walked last night, up and down 57th Street, up and down, trying to fight it, trying to disbelieve the memories. But they crowded in on me. The voices, the faces, the very rustle of silks and the smell of tallow, and sedan chairs and theaters. They crowded in, above the honking of the taxis, the rumble of subways. I saw her world last night, completely. I felt the pull of her upon me more powerfully than anything I've ever known. But I don't want to go back. If I go back, what will it be to? What? That's what I keep asking myself. Where will it be? Do you think this drivel, Elizabeth? Do you think I need a doctor, or can you find it in your heart to understand, to forgive me? I need you, darling. Believe me, now more than I've ever needed you before. I don't understand what's happened, but as surely as I know everything I've said is true, I have a feeling we can conquer it. So, darling, do for me what I have not the courage or the heart to do. Go up there quickly. She's in the front part of the attic under a pile of old clothes. Destroy her. In any way you wish, but destroy her, so that not a fragment of her remains. I warn you that she's beautiful. That she's the rarest bit of Meissen in the world. But until she is destroyed forever, the man you call your husband is only dust. And the shadow of a love 200 years old.
You have been listening to the Columbia Workshop production of Someone Else by Lucille Fletcher. The part of Simpson was played by Martin Gable. He was assisted by Helen Clare, Margot Stevenson, Stephen Schnabel, Julian Noah, and Carl Emery. The music was composed by the 18th century court musician Andre Compra and conducted by Bernard Herrmann. The entire production was directed by Earl McGill. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's it for Strange Tales this week. I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can find more from the Columbia Workshop, Strange Tales, all the other podcasts, and our Shoutcast stream at relicradio.com. Lots to listen to. If you'd like to help support it all, keep it coming to you every week. Visit donate.relicradio.com or click on the link on the website. Your support is how it all happens. Thanks to those who have helped out. Thanks for joining me today. Talk to you again next Sunday with another episode of Relic Radio's Strange Tales.